Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night. Finally made it to the weekend here. The weekend is upon us, no doubt. Still Friday the 13th, though, at least here in California. 11:26 p.m. California time, September 13, 2024. Live stream is up and running, by the way. It went down suspiciously here twice in a 12-hour period. Our earthquake activity ramping up again out here in Southern California. Look at all this activity just in the last hour alone at various locations here across Southern California. And it's it's still a little concerning out here with all the recent uptick we've been witnessing here in Southern California, making a lot of people nervous out here. And it's something we got to watch and prepare for. The latest activity here in the last hour, a 1.8 in the mix here around the Malibu area. This is the region that's seen the 4.7 earthquake here yesterday. So we technically have to go back the last 7 days to see yesterday's activity, which consists now of about 41 earthquakes there outside of Malibu, which sits here along the coastline. Beautiful coast here to the east on Highway 1. Now all this activity is stirring up on the Malibu coastal range here, and they've gotten some big earthquakes out here in the past. They can get a lot bigger than the 4.7 we've seen here. It's been, I don't know how long. I covered this last night, but they can definitely get some larger scale activity out here. So the largest, obviously the largest sequence so far is going to be this 4.7 yesterday. We've seen a handful of threes in there as well. 3.4 from yesterday, a 3.4 yesterday as well, and there's another 3.2 here from this morning, shaking things up here about 5 o'clock this morning. So things have not calmed down out here yet, and I don't think they will. If anything, I think this is going to continue to increase here, and the likelihood of seeing something larger is increasing day by day. Various earthquakes out here around the Ontario area here in Southern California. That is around the Fontana region. Right? Remember that swarm area that we had here a couple days back? Well, we're getting hit with a little bit more earthquake activity here tonight with a 1.9. So these little locations here are a good distance away from each other, right? Bakersfield up here across the White Wolf Fault Zone, down south, Malibu. All these quakes here are still hitting in these various areas that are surrounding the plate boundary here. Not getting a whole lot over here yet. There's been a handful. Let me see what we got for earthquake activity out there. Not a whole lot, actually. All magnitudes do show a little bit, and they're just right off the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault. That's where a lot of the pressure residual strain would make sense to appear, and that's where we're seeing that activity right there. But as of late here in the last hour or so, we're seeing an increasing earthquake activity event out here in some various areas. And they follow this trend here, this fault system here, the Garlock Fault Shear Zone, that interacts with the plate boundary, the San Andreas Fault. All these earthquakes have been following that pattern here that's on that map, the land pattern on the topography of this map here. It matches what we're seeing here on the fault system. So that leads me to believe here, I've been saying it, that the culprit here is incredible strain out here against the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, which begins roughly about here southward. More earthquake activity in the Bakersfield area. This is a region that's seen, they've seen a bunch of earthquake activity out here. We're looking at 200 earthquakes, and that is from that 5-pointer that struck. It's actually been over 30 days. So if we were to go back prior to the 30-day threshold, that number would be much higher, and including that 5-pointer that we've seen back there. I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks ago in that area, but we're still seeing earthquake activity there. Newer activity here. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see a swarm out here around this area now. We've been seeing all these little different regions pop up here with the increasing event out here across Southern California recently. This earthquake in the last hour, 1.2, just outside of the Tehachapi area. Further, let me check this out here real quick. That one earthquake that came into the Fontana area where we've seen that swarming here a couple days back, 1.9. That's just gone off the 1 hour mark here, so it's in a orange circle now, or yeah, it's kind of orange. 1.9. That brings the total tally there of the swarm up to about 50 earthquakes. And of course, this is the area that's seen a 3.5. A couple other earthquakes in there as well, 3.9. Really no main quake sequence with this activity here. Unlike the region of Bakersfield, where they had a 5.2. And then, of course, the Malibu area, 4.7, along with a bunch of other earthquakes here now as well. Further down south here, southern end of the Elsinore Fault, a 1.5. Nothing major going on, but a little bit further up north, there's a little separate swarm down here in this little canyon area. Some 2s and some 1s stirring up out there this morning, roughly about the same time of each other, about 6 o'clock in the morning. Nothing throughout the rest of the day there, but goodness. One earthquake right smack dab on the San Andreas Fault here, the southern branch outside of Desert Hot Springs. Earlier today, about 11:30 my time here for a 2.0. But it does look like things are starting to stir back up out here for earthquake activity tonight. So just be on guard. This is an overall pattern here, folks. I think we all can agree that we've seen more earthquakes here, felt more earthquakes out here this year. I would say, last couple months here have really increased compared to what we had seen years past out here. There's a dramatic increase in earthquake activity out here, mainly across the southern portion here of California, roughly about the Tehachapi Mountains area, a little bit eastward, and then we run southward here. And this activity is mainly on the Pacific side of the plate boundary, which, what's up against there, folks? That's the San Andreas Fault. It's, I don't think it's fused together permanently. It's been building up strain for over 300 years. And the potential out there is great for a big earthquake. You put that into the play here. Southern California earthquake activity with all the movement we've seen in Nevada recently. And they have not really done a good job of reporting all the earthquake activity out here in the last few days. It almost looks like they've turned the reporting off. And because we've seen a lot of earthquake swarms out here across the western Nevada area, roughly about the Walker Lake area, southward through Tonopah, pretty decent swarm out here, and also that big-time swarm outside of Las Vegas area. This whole area of western Nevada just seems like it's being influenced by all the strain and activity going on here across the area of Southern California, which would make sense there. This is a plate boundary, and that's where the most of the interaction takes place there, as far as the pressurization of this region, this plate boundary. So we got to watch it. Obviously, it's not toning down. It does for maybe about 3 or 4 days prior to this activity there in Malibu area yesterday. There was a couple days of quietness. But then again, we've seen that activity stir up here outside of the Rancho Cucamonga area southward. That's where that swarm took place here back on the 9th and 10th there. So we really haven't had an extended period of what I would call normal background activity. Last 6 weeks, 7 weeks have been elevated out here almost every single day. I look at these maps a lot. You guys know me. I'm always looking at these maps here, and I've studied these maps for many years. And there's many big player names out there that are saying that we've seen a lot more earthquakes out here, but it's not leading to the big one. One would think, though, right? Increasing signs of earthquake activity around a major plate boundary that's been locked for 300 years. I would say the increasing chance out here is much higher. And it continues to move forward on the percentage scale in terms of seeing something larger out here. So we'll continue to watch that. Southern California, I do have my seismograph stations back up here. Barrett is there in Southern California, just outside of San Diego. Oh, that's the other one I need to add, is the Bakersfield station. I'll get to that here after the end of this update. Working our way up north here through the Bay Area. They had a 3.4 coming in here about 3:15 here in the afternoon. Now, what's funny is when the live stream went down earlier for the first time is when I was discussing this activity. So the live stream only lasted for about 5 hours, 6 hours, somewhere around there, and then it went down again. I think it'll hold up. Like I say, I reset everything, reset the IP, closed all the windows out, reset the computer, did updates on it, and hopefully it will prevent anyone from bringing the live stream down for at least a couple more days until they figure out how to do it again. I'm sure they know. But yeah, 3.4 coming into the area outside of Loom Rock region. This is the Calaveras Fault Zone here. A little bit of movement over here across the San Francisco Bay Area early this morning. But most of the activity in terms of uptick, again, have been roughly, you can pretty much draw a zigzag pattern right here through western Nevada, back over here across the Tehachapi Mountains area, and then southward, all this area across the plate boundary. And it's not just one area showing uptick, folks. It's many areas around the Southern California area that are showing increasing activity. So up north, Northern California has been relatively quiet. As we zoom in here to this area, 2.9 out here across the Gorda Escarpment area. This is the interaction of the Pacific Plate boundary along with the Juan de Fuca Plate up north here as a whole. This is actually technically a little small microplate here that's getting shoved underneath Northern California called the Gorda Plate. But 2.9 coming in there fairly recent. Also, a little bit later, a couple hours later, we got a 2.8 here across the Blanco Fracture Zone. That should amplify conditions out here across the Cascadia southern end. Let me check out the trimmer map here tonight, see what we have. I was wanting to be in bed by now, but this little hiccup, maybe somebody thought I was in bed and they were going to pull the plug, thinking that the live stream would be down all night. Well, here we are. We're back up. And I tell you what, guys, a couple years ago, I was running the live stream here on a gaming laptop, and somehow they managed to find a way to reset my computer in the middle of the night. Crazy stuff. And so once I switched over here to a desktop here with a little bit more security in it, they haven't reset my computer, but they've managed to block my KBs here from going out. I don't think it's this area here, Streamlabs, because I've used OBS as well in the past and had issues. So it's just one of these programs. I don't know if it's the Earthquake 3D program. I don't know if it's being connected through the open network with seismograph stations. It's hard to say, but anyway, when it goes down, I try to bring it back up. Southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone showing some activity. This is trimmer here, mainly. What do we got for counts? We've got about 56 epicenters here. And the majority of these look like they are from a little bit later in the day here, as far as the UTC time goes. So noticeable, definitely seen some earthquake activity ramp up here across this area of Northern California. Trimmer downstream. That looks like it is adding strain further up north here, or not north, but upstream from the deeper regions of the Cascadia. This earthquake here, 13 miles deep into the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. That was earlier this afternoon. So a little bit of activity stirring up out here, but nothing like what we're seeing down south here. I wouldn't doubt if we get a couple more earthquakes here while we're doing the update down there. Mount St. Helens, goodness, what's going on up here? Hello. A little bit of activity, and that is some super shallow earthquake activity. Let me see what we got here. These are very small negative magnitudes here. It has been reviewed, so that's a very interesting depth there for that earthquake. Just below the surface at the summit area. I don't know if that has something to do with maybe snow melt over the summer. Hard to say. But let's go check it out here on the seismograph stations for Mount St. Helens. Look at all that earthquake activity here. A lot of it in the last couple hours. Got a handful out there. Goodness, 62 of them. The largest of 1.2. So let's see if any of these seismograph stations are working out here. There's a couple earthquakes out there. Those little spikes there indeed look like earthquakes. A couple on this previous image as well. But it looks as though we're seeing a little bit more increasing activity here. Very small microquake activity. And I don't know how much snow's left on Mount St. Helens. I don't know if it goes completely bare in the summertime or if they have snow or anything up there right now. But it is producing a little bit of earthquake activity just below the surface region. So I don't think it's any signs of concern. We can go over and double check the I don't know if I want to use Microsoft Edge now. Well, we'll try it. I don't think this is what's been messing with me. I do want to go over here to the Volcano Hazard Program real quick, and then we'll see what's going on at Mount St. Helens here from a volcanic gas emissions view. See what we got. Let me zoom in here real quick once I find the correct here's the past month of sulfur dioxide. Really nothing of any concern on that one. Carbon dioxide fairly neutral as well. For a while these reporting stations were down. I'm just glad they're up. Hydrogen sulfide right there. Sulfur dioxide fairly neutral as well, but doesn't that look a little odd, right? On the past three of these, the sulfur dioxide and even the temperature up here looks neutral. Almost looks like it's been put into manual mode to where it's, because most of the time, if you think about it, there's going to be variations here of the gases similar to that. But then all of a sudden, it's just neutral. And that may have something to do with the wind. I don't know for sure. Carbon dioxide. Hydrogen sulfide again. I don't know. It just looks a little odd. Anyway, earthquake activity, kicking up a little bit out there across Mount St. Helens today. And well, that's kind of interesting there. Let me see. There's actually a lot more earthquake activity out here on the PNSN network right here in the last couple hours than what they're showing on the USGS map here. They're only showing 9 earthquakes, with the last one early this morning. Right? Am I reading that right? We're there at Mount St. Helens, all magnitudes, but if you look here, we've had numerous earthquakes. Well, let's see here. How come these are in the red if they're if it's supposed to be last 2 hours out here? It's a little odd. I was looking at these time frames. That would be about 7 o'clock in the morning, but they're still red out there. It's supposed to be a different color when you look at the legend out there. Anyway, see, last 2 hours right here. Last 2 days should be in the orange out here, but we're seeing a bunch out here. Nothing big, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it. This area did have a little bit of swarming here earlier this year and also last year. For about a month and a half, I think we've seen a couple hundred earthquakes out here. I don't know if we're leading to that again with this little earthquake sequence or not, but it's definitely worth watching, right? The rest of the area across the volcanoes pretty quiet. One earthquake there across Mount Rainier. Pacific Northwest in general fairly quiet here. Yellowstone National Park, a couple smaller earthquakes out there. We got one interesting earthquake out here in the last hour, 3.4 near the Saratoga area of Wyoming. Out here near the Medicine Mountain area here, Medicine Bow Mountain area. I wonder what's out there. Goodness, kind of an odd quake. Huh. Just look like little homes out there. I was going to say, are those fracking pads out there? I don't think so. No, those look like homes. But anyway, a little bit of interesting activity there. Let's go check out Yellowstone just to double check, see if we got anything major going on there. Really not seeing anything of any abnormal activity. The three-pointer that came in here, 3.4, is a considerable distance outside of Yellowstone. It just came in at 2250, so just about an hour or so ago. I'm barely seeing it show up here on the seismograph stations. If you look here at the promontory, that's probably going to be it. Barely. Aside from that, Yellowstone National Park, not much earthquake activity whatsoever at all out here. It's been awfully quiet. Yellowstone's been one of those in one of those quiet spells. I got to get in the habit of closing some of these windows out. They make me a little nervous leaving a window open to a website like that. Any website. One earthquake there in the New Madrid seismic zone from this morning. Goodness, look at the Western Pacific out here. That's been a lot more. That's a lot of activity, a lot more than what I've seen out here recently, all across and up and down the plate boundary. That doesn't happen very often, but goodness, that's a lot of activity. It looks as though a lot of that was triggered from the 5.7 out here just off the coast of Japan, about 4 o'clock my time. Pretty decent earthquake. That is just to the south here along the plate boundary. This is a major subduction zone that got a megaquake warning put out for it from the Japanese government. They had a series of large quakes out here a couple months back, and that enough was to make the folks here put out a megaquake warning for this subduction zone. And we got another earthquake there, 5.7, just off of it, southern end of it looks like, earlier today. Just about an hour later, that added further strain downstream here off the coast of Taiwan, just off the coast here of Taiwan, 4.9. The latest one, 4.7 over here across the area west of Guam. Extreme, what is this trench right here? The Yap Trench. It's a little interesting there. Haven't seen too much activity on this area. But, man, goodness, we got a lot of activity stirring up out here across this area. 4.4 along the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Earthquakes all up and down. The biggest one, of course, is going to be that 5.7 there today. Just the southern end of that subduction zone. Aside from that, lots of forest. But I don't recall the last time we've seen that much 4 activity out here. Absolutely crazy. Down here in New Zealand, getting a bunch of 5s as well across this area of the Kermadec Trench. Little interesting activity out here for sure across the Pacific Plate. Almost looks like things are getting ready to really pop. Getting a swarm of activity here across the North Island area, underneath North Island with a couple 3s. Nothing big across here for now. 5.1, that looks fairly recent there around the Vanuatu area. Not much. We did have a little bit of older activity here across China, north of the Himalayas earlier today. A bunch of 4s. Mediterranean area, mostly smaller microquake activity out there. Near the Gulf of Eden here, 4.5 from earlier. But it looks like the Pacific Plate here is definitely wanting to move around a lot. Look at all that activity. Normally it's in the crunch zone out here, roughly around the Taiwan area southward, but this is some broad-scale unrest out here taking place all along the Pacific Plate boundary. And when that moves, obviously things move and adjust over here accordingly as well across California. We definitely need to be on guard out here, folks. Nothing coming in since I've been yakking out here, but you never know. We'll check back on this here in just a second. Alaska area. A handful of 2s up there. Really nothing big. 2.5 map and above shows one earthquake just outside of the Denali area. 2.8. Not a big deal. That's very typical for earthquake activity up there in Alaska. But this, yikes. Hawaii, Anything major going on? A little bit of smaller activity here across the summit area and stretching off towards the lower east rift zone. But overall, that area is just we're just waiting on things to get busy down there. Let me check out the latest inflation chart here across the Kilauea volcano. The deformation chart will give us a good idea of what's going on below the surface. Get a little bit of rise here, actually a fairly decent sharp rise in the last 6 hours or so at the summit area. Notice that peaking right here in the past week. Notice that as well on the past month here. So things looks like they're starting to amp back up there just underneath the surface. Might be getting a little bit further push of magma from below. That could be amplifying the strain and stress here at the surface levels. That's why we're seeing the inflation for one, and also elevated earthquake activity. Let's see what we got for the latest update. Volcano's not erupting. Additional pulses of unrest in the upper to middle east rift zone are possible and may evolve quickly. That's what I'm talking about. But nothing, like I say, nothing yet. A little bit of uptick tonight. We could be, looking at maybe a eruptive fissure event out here somewhere, or maybe just another magma intrusion from this area off somewhere else, maybe to the lower east rift zone here. Who knows? Just a waiting game. And it's been at a stationary level for a little while. Today, a little bit different, though. Some further inflation and some earthquake activity, mainly here across the upper and middle east rift zone. Space weather activity here. I don't even know what to believe anymore with this. G2 class storm. When did that get added here? Tonight? Was that forecasted? Looks like a little bit of activity stirred up here out of the blue. KP index right around the 6 or so. G2 class storm came in briefly earlier today, it looks like. Earlier this evening. Since have calmed down, but I don't think they were forecasting a G2 class storm. I covered this morning. Just going to be a G1 and maybe some unsettled conditions. But we had a brief peak area of the KP index right there. Auroras right now, though, it looks like they're suppressed. Not a whole lot going on there. Flaring activity, yeah, we do have a couple active regions out here. These out here on the western limb are really not of any threat. They are obviously turning further away from us, but it's this massive region. What's going on here? Look at that little feature. This massive sunspot area is very capable of producing some decent flares. It has been throwing off a whole bunch of CME explosions as it was further out there across the eastern limb on the far side, backside of the sun. It is into a more Earth-directed view with a whole bunch of plasma. It looks like it's getting ready to get blasted off of there. Check out the complexity here of the sunspot. Magnetic structure here shows quite the dynamic setup here. A lot of intermixing of the polarities. All those deep colors there in a close proximity to one another is a super complex sunspot. Beta gamma delta structure is the that sunspot complexity right there, 3825. And it I can't really say if it's growing or just remaining stationary, but that is the sunspot that has produced numerous far side explosions here over the last couple of weeks while it was out there on the far side of the sun. Now that it's in the Earth-directed view, we'll have to watch and wait, see what happens here. We do have a number of coronal holes that are currently facing the Earth as well, mainly north of us and south of us on the Earth-Sun plane out here. I don't think we'll see any enhancement from these, but you never know. They got to be a little bit more lined up here, center disk, to get the full effects from the solar wind stream that's flowing out of these coronal holes. But look over there, that sunspot area definitely lighten up a little bit. Currently flaring, it looks like, with some C-flare activity. A long duration C-flare event actually made it up into the M-flare category. So during times like that, obviously it looks like things may want to pop out there across this area. We may be getting some of the effects from that far side sunspot there on the western limb as well. But we'll continue to keep an eye on things, folks. Let's get back to earthquake activity real quick. Just a real quick recap. Hey, we got one more earthquake there. Popped up here on the map. Two of them, actually. A 0.6 and a 0.5. All along the, or just off the San Jacinto fault zone. There's that 2.3. It's that, I take that back. That was a 1.8. That one coming in there since about 11 o'clock, 11:01. Anyway, folks, stay prepared. Be vigilant. Have an earthquake plan. And goodness, that's just crazy activity. Something out here is getting ready to move in a big fashion here. We normally don't see this much earthquake activity out here across the Pacific Plate. And in past years here that I've been studying, you got even Dr. Lucy Jones stating it, that we've seen more earthquakes this year in the 4 range and above than what we've seen here at any time there in the last, I think she said 65 years. The average amount of 4 magnitude or higher in an individual sequence there is much higher this year compared to many previous years. So that has got to speak for itself there. So be prepared, stay on guard, and we'll catch you guys back out here in the morning. Seismograph stations are up. I will add the Bakersfield station up here because it's pretty important, Bakersfield, to be in the mix in there as well. Petrolia is Northern California. Parkfield, there along the San Andreas Fault. Fiji, New Zealand, and Mount St. Helens up here are on the bottom. Yellowstone in there as well. So I'll find room here for the Bakersfield station. In the meantime, live stream is up and running, folks. Hopefully it doesn't go down. Everything looks solid and consistent right now. Lost a little bit of packets here. Like I say, it's a really weird thing when I lose my outbound traffic here. It prevents me from whatever's going on here with this attack that's going on with this channel. It puts a damper, like a 2-minute damper on my outbound traffic. I can't upload anything. It's really weird, and I've tried numerous different ways of trying to find out what it is, or who it is, but I can't. And another thing is, a command prompt was done with the netstat. If you type in netstat on the command prompt there, to give you the connections that you're connected to on a foreign address. And I was connected to hundreds of them. So I don't understand that. That was really weird. There would be no reason why I'm connected to 100 different IP addresses unless this program has something to do with it. But as you can see, there's not 100 different stations on here. It's definitely weird. Anyway, we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and eventually, sooner or later, I'll find out what's going on or who's behind it. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning for the Saturday morning update. It's late, way past my bedtime. Take care, folks. Have a good night.